Hey everybody, we're the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Dr. Kristen.
Welcome to our continuing celebration of different cultural things. We have decided to go beyond the confines of designated heritage and history months. Who needs those? We can make them up if we want. So we decided this month we want to celebrate Indian culture, Indian as in the subcontinent of India, not American Indians or Native Americans. And so we've made up our own Indian Cultural Month. We're going to be talking about 4 films that showcase different aspects of Indian culture. And today we're talking about the phenomenal, and I mean that wholeheartedly, 2004 Bollywood style adaptation of Pride and Prejudice called Bride and Prejudice. And y'all, if you haven't seen this movie, like, stop this video right now. Why are you watching it in the first place? Besides the fact that you love us, and like, go watch it. It is just 2 hours of joy, which we all need in October of 2020.
So a couple quick things about the word Bollywood.
Yeah.
Bollywood is not a place. It is
not like Dollywood or Hollywood.
Or Hollywood. It is in fact a portmanteau of an industry that is the Hindi language film industry that was at one point based in the city called Bombay, that we now refer to as Mumbai, because Bombay was the colonial name. So it was a portmanteau of Bombay and Hollywood. And that's it. There are many other film industries within India that focus on other languages. Hindi is the largest spoken language on the subcontinent. I believe English is actually the technical language because it's the one that that the cities all speak together. But there are lots of languages in India. I went to a Telugu film when I was there, in fact, which is a language that's spoken more at the bottom of the tip at the continent. And there's lots of different artistic expressions in different cultures because as many people as there are on the subcontinent of India, there are pretty much that many cultures and cultural experiences. So, but Bollywood is easily the most exported expression of that artistic thing. They make like 1,000 movies a year. They are all this colorful. They are all this exuberant. There is usually music and dancing in all of them. The kind of common wisdom is that there's not really any kissing and there's not any alcohol, because both of those things, public displays of affection and consumption of alcohol, are fairly frowned upon in general Indian culture. And that one of the reasons that they make them so much is that the focus is joy and family. Mm-hmm. The focus is not artistic expression and all this other stuff. There are whole industries in India that focus on those things.
Yeah.
But the Bollywood machine does this.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about an actual factual Bollywood movie later on in the month. And you'll be able to see the differences. Bollywood movies do tend to be longer. I know there's a lot of people that are like, they're not all 3 hours long. No, child, a lot of them are. And they're just because they smash everything together, which is one of the reasons that Bride and Prejudice works so well, even though it's a rom-com, very, very clearly. A lot of other Bollywood movies are going to be there's also going to be sword fighting. Like, it's like if Princess Bride added dancing.
Right, dancing and singing, yeah.
So kind of all of that stuff, but Bride and Prejudice is a wonderful baby step into the Bollywood subgenre. Because I know they say it's an industry, but it really has created its own subgenre.
Yeah.
That family is always going to be more important than the individual. So balancing family expectations and individual needs, which Jane Austen does beautifully in all of her works. But
all of her works, yeah.
Definitely Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
It is, besides the fact that God love him, Martin Henderson playing Darcy is the worst Darcy. He's just the worst Darcy.
He is the worst Darcy.
He has the charisma of toast. It is not great. Everything else about this thing is a delight, top to bottom. So.
Pure joy. Yeah, and this will come as no surprise to our more ardent followers and viewers that my entry into this was not Bollywood, but in fact Jane Austen, as it has been a love of mine for quite a long time. And so I remember watching it, came out in 2004, and it is just the most loveliest 2004, including, you know, Ashanti as the musical guest and Rory Gilmore
showing up, and having musical guests show up and then they have nothing to do with the story is a very common trope of Bollywood films. So
yeah, and so my knowledge of Bollywood tropes was nil when I watched this in the year of our Lord 2004 when I was 21, and I was so confused because I was like, why doesn't this fit my conception of like Western?
why aren't they kissing?
Why aren't they kissing? What is this? Why do they keep talking about drinking? Why are they breaking into song and dance? And I loved it all. It was phenomenal. Like the music's phenomenal, the colors, the dancing. I thought it was great. It's like, why is, oh God, this is so cheesy. Like all of this, why are there so many montages? And as I've like grown in my life and understanding of Indian culture, I know a lot more about it now. But I think that's one of the reasons why it's so great because it's a story that we recognize in the Western canon, and a lot of people have, like, Jane Austen has become subsumed into popular culture a lot. A lot of people love Clueless and don't realize that it's Emma. But it is.
Thing about you is Taming of the Shrew.
And, yeah, so like we've done this a lot with Western canonical stories. But yeah, this one is just, it's Mr. Coley is one of the best Collinses. Like
when they like flash to him on the bed, the circular bed, like that, just that.
It's so good. And we get like lovely instances of critical thinking about American culture and the differences between people who are families of Indian immigrants. And so, you know, what it was like for Kiran and Balraj to grow up in England and their perception of India. And even further than that, Darcy's perception of India growing up in England and the States, and then Mr. Coley's, you know, perception of America. But like that whole contrast that he provides between like how great America is, but I can't find a proper Indian wife. Like
exactly, or like what a proper Indian wife even is, and all of that. Yeah.
And there's a show on Netflix. I'm not going to remember the name of it. Might be the Indian Matchmaker.
It's just Indian Matchmaking.
Indian Matchmaking, which has caused a bit of controversy because of its portrayal of still the belief in the caste system in India. But it's a fascinating look into this, like American Indian American, you know, cultural differences, particularly around the idea of marriage. So, you know, with an asterisk, as we recommend a lot of things, I was fascinated by Indian Matchmaking as a television show. But yeah, Mr. Coley like encapsulated that really well with his nonsense.
It's great. So a couple other things that I'm really appreciative of is that that this was done with such clear love and yet not reverence. There was real tongue-in-cheek happening in this movie, especially with some of the comments about America. So just like to like highlight that again, that this is clearly people who love the woman who wrote this, whose name is escaping me right now, clearly loves this story and loves Bollywood, but holds very little sacred. And that kind of balance makes for really, really fun art. Because there is a love of this, but like there's no sacred cows in a certain way in this that she couldn't touch. Because I even think like the choice to not have them kiss was more organic than like, I mean, this wasn't a Bollywood release. This was a Western movie release.
Right.
And so it was a more like, no, I love this part of the genre. I love this element. How many giant weddings can I create? How many stick dances? How many... I love that they made fun of the snake dance that the sister did, like, because that's ridiculous.
Oh, the Cobra dance was too much.
But like, and my friends who are from the subcontinent hate that kind of stuff. So like, it was all very fascinating. And it's so important, like Dr. Aaron just said, an asterisk around Indian matchmaking. Like the real problem that we have with art that is not mainstream, like recreations of Die Hard, is that we assume that that art is therefore representative of that culture.
Yeah.
And that's simply not true. Like that's not true for anything. Die Hard is not representative of American culture unless there's a whole part of American culture I am unfamiliar with. I have never, you know, been blown up at midnight on Christmas Eve in the Nagasaki Tower. So this is a piece.
Yeah.
Indian matchmaking is a piece. The movies that we're going to watch soon and for the rest of this month are a piece. Movies about the terrible backbreaking poverty and political corruption of India are a piece.
Right.
Let's talk about the British East Indian Company and the Dutch one and the Danish one and all of the colonialization. Let's talk about why we all drink tea. Let's talk about all of that. But let's also talk about joy. Let's talk about art, and let's talk about family, and let's talk about falling in love with somebody who is only really reputable because of the character he's playing in the text and not because of what he's bringing to the screen. Yeah. Guys, they've tried to make Martin Henderson happen so many times, and there's a reason he hasn't happened.
Bless him, he's so pretty and just dull as dishwater.
Dull as dishwater, yeah, so many times. It was a real missed opportunity to not have Naveen Andrews play Darcy. That would have been perf. Oh, perf.
Oh. Love Naveen Andrews. I just
love Naveen Andrews. He's not been on our television, or he's not been on our screens recently, has he? I haven't seen him since Lost, I don't think. He
was on something after Lost, but I can't mind what it was. Okay. But every time I see him, I just go, Saeed! One of the joys that I keep in my heart from Lost, even though that show broke me. I will forever hold Saeed in my heart.
Saeed and Penny.
We won't go down a Lost rabbit hole right now, folks. We're tempted. But yeah, as we've talked about with our other cultural celebrations that we do, a lot of them are so broad that we start with dipping our toes in. And next year, we're going to intentionally be a lot more specific in some of the celebrations that we do, but we haven't done anything really about Indian culture. And so this month is going to be a bit broader and tap into some of these key themes and some interesting aspects of Indian culture that we might not see as dominant as the ones that show the backbreaking poverty. Because that, we're not doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We could, but we're not going. What's that? Slumdog Millionaire. Yes, sorry. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I love the way he said millionaire. We're not doing Slumdog Millionaire. It's a brilliant film.
And it's also an authentic experience. It's also true. This is one of the things, I said about art, and we've said it again, all of these things are true and we hold them in tension.
Yes. So next up, we will be covering a Bollywood movie. Very excited. I cannot pronounce it for the life of me.
But we'll practice between now and then.
So I would only say it phonetically, and I'm not going to do it that disservice. But next week, we'll be talking about a traditional Bollywood film. We're very excited, from the 90s. Then we're shifting to the UK, and we're going to do Bend It Like Beckham, which is a fascinating cultural immigrant clashing experience as well. And then for the end of the month, we've got a film about cricket in India, which is going to be fantastic, which is starring your man from Big Bang Theory.
Oh, Raj?
Yeah, Raj totally made this movie happen. When I was looking it up yesterday, that's what I learned.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
thanks. Good Big Bang Theory money, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah, and he's a passionate cricket fan.
I love it. I love when people love sports. Yeah. Even sports that I don't understand. So
I don't understand cricket.
But hopefully we will at the end of that documentary. So
or if nothing else, we will be impassioned by it. Who knows?
Yeah, I still say that the British way of playing it, where you get points off if you get dirty, is just, it means it's not a sport, but we can cover my feelings about British cricket later on. But guys, it's going to be a good month. If you are watching this and you are somebody who loves Bollywood or loves any of the other Indian movie houses, or you've seen other things, as always, tell us what to watch. If there's television shows we could be watching or podcasts we could be listening to. Again, in this particular month, we are steering away from the political history and the economic history. So we're looking a lot more for lived experiences. Of whatever. I would love some food documentaries about Indian food. Dr. Hinson will give those a pass, but I'll watch them in my spare time. Tell us. We love learning. I spent a bunch of weeks backpacking through India 10 years ago.
I was gonna say not 5 years ago.
10 years ago. And that place crawled its way into my heart and lived there ever since, and I haven't been able to make it back. So show me what I need to learn still.
Yes. So for that reason and many, many more, we're very excited for our Indian Culture Month. We will see y'all next week. Take care, everybody.